What's up on Power Crew? Today's video we're continuing the build on my Fender Deletes. Now after scouring the internet looking for a set of Fender Deletes for my YJ, I really couldn't find anything that really made me happy. I didn't like anything I've seen, so I thought, you know what? I like welding, I like the fabrication stuff, and I kind of got a certain look I'm going for. So therefore I'm just going to make my own, you know? Well, on the last video I showed you guys how to form that bracket where it bolts to the core support. Now I'm going to show you guys how I did this part right here. Notice that it contours to the hood. It's made out of 3/16 top plate. And right here is 1-inch square tubing, 11 gauge wall, super strong. Probably even a bit overkill, but so. Now obviously you see I've got a little bit of work left to do on these things before they're complete. I mean I want to make me a little section right here to block this off, contour into the core support. My inner fenders, hadn't even started on those yet, simply because I need to get the body and everything done. So you got my rock rails right here going in, and I'm doing some work under the floor, which I think I showed you guys in the last video, but I'll give you guys a peek. You see here 3/16 plate going in all the way through there, so she's gonna be battle ready. 1.5-inch square tubing, 1-inch square tubing, all that 11 gauge wall. But before I can do my inner fenders, I want my tummy tuck and all that stuff done, so when I set the body height, when I set it back on the frame, I'm going to have my body height established where I want it on the frame. At that point I can make my inner fenders wrap around my shock towers here when I weld them in. The shock towers are from Rough Stuff Specialties, and of course I've just got to sit in right there after I cut out the old shock tower, put that one in. But I've got some work I want to do to the frame before I put those in. They're just kind of eyeballing them. So whenever I was fabbing my fenders up here, about where was it going to fall in line, I measured that right there a minute ago. It's got about 1 5/8 gap for that shock tower to drop down. So once it is, this is going to set just up hovering above this. So that'll give me, once the body's put back in place after doing the tummy tuck and the frame fabs I'm going to be doing, that'll give me an idea of where to take the top of my fender over the shock tower and wrapping in behind it. So that'll come much later down the road. But for today, I'm going to show you guys how to make that contour. That 1-inch square tubing, 3/16 top plate. Get her done. Oh yeah, look right there. My old shipping blanket got burnt. I was running that bead right there and the sparks kind of set that blanket on fire. I'm like, fire, fire, fire. As you guys watch this video, it's going to be totally obvious that I filmed a lot of this stuff a long time ago. And I'm just now starting to release the video on how I fabricated this stuff. So that's enough of the talking. Let's get on with this. Now when I originally shot the footage on this, I had filmed the whole process of how I got the contour of this metal right here, and I have no idea what happened to the footage. I don't know if it got corrupt, whatever the case may be. I'm going to show you guys with a piece of scrap metal real quick. So what I did, I had some 2.5-inch 3/16 plate or bar stock. I just kind of clamped it to my hood like this, get that to hold it in place. Took a Sharpie marker and simply come right through here and just drew my line all the way down through there. And see right here, it becomes tangent with the metal, then it comes down through here and opens up again because of the curvature of the hood. Because being a 2.5-inch bar stock, as it comes down this way, it expanded out and allowed my flange to go inside, but give me metal out here to cut for the profile. So basically, I clamped it up like that, come down through here with the Sharpie, traced it out, had two pieces the same length, clamped them together. That way when I took the plasma cutter and cut them out, I cut both pieces at the same time. Then I took the grinder, cleaned them up, and well, you'll see. Took plasma cutter, chopped off what was needed, took the grinder, cleaned up my edges. And no, I didn't detail them because you'll see here in a bit that I'm going to be welding tubing to the bottom of this plate. This plate's going to be a top surface riding right here, and tubing is going to be underneath the bottom of this. So this fits like such, and I've trimmed it actually to where it's in line with the hood, along the same lines with it. See, it's flush along with the hood all the way down through there. So it's like it's a Fender Delete setup. And what my plans are, nah, I'm not gonna tell you. But I will be putting the tubing on the bottom side of this. I've got these two pieces welded together like I mentioned earlier, so I'm going to cut them apart. I've got the plate, this plate right here marked front of the Jeep, top this side up because of the curvature of the hood. And of course this is the driver's side. So I cut these little spot welds loose right here. I can separate the two plates. I'll take this bottom plate here, this bottom one is sitting like this, but when I take it, I'll flip it and it'll match the curve on the other side. So now I'm going to take and cut these spot welds off. I will check the curvature on the hood on the other side. Get the plates separated. We're on the passenger side and see how well does this work. Took it up along that. Here we go. Sweet. Gonna be a little bit of detail work up front, but I kind of overcut it intentionally. Yeah, I may have to take a little bit off the back here to bring it in. That's all right. Easy, easy. And so I don't get airheaded and mix them up. Top side, top surface. It's gonna be on the hood here, passenger side, and front. I cut a piece of 1-inch tubing, about 42 inches. Where did I get 42 inches from? Because if you take a measure right here, all the way down to here, it's about 42 inches. So I cut to the outside of it a little bit, give myself just a little bit of extra length. Because what my plans are now, I'm gonna come through here and cut about every 1.5 to 2 inches or so, cut a slice to where I can make this 1 inch bend, because I want to take this and form it to the contour of this cut I made with a plasma. It's going to come through here, and it's going to form this arc right here using this tubing. Now I realize when I get to the end right here, I'm going to have to, you know, cut this off a little bit, shape it to that end and all that fun stuff, but we'll get to that here in a bit. But for right now, I want this 1-inch tubing to follow this contour right through here. If I've got it set up on my chop saw, what I'm going to do is, for every one of those marks, I'll bring my blade down to where it cuts into that mark. But you don't cut all the way through the tubing. You cut leave about 1/4 of the tubing intact on this side, which you'll see here in a moment what I'm talking about. And to help myself out, I've got this little couple bricks, a piece of metal there to help support that in, because, you know, just weight will want to leverage it back. So I'm gonna come through here, cut these relief cuts, and then I'll come back and show you what I mean by how deep to cut them. And as you can see, if I can get that cut, goes all the way through 3 sides, leaving this 4th side intact. Yes, it's still hot. I only went deep enough, just short of even touching that surface here on the inside. What that does is that relief cut, to shape it when I get all these down through here cut like that, I'll be able to take and roll that metal, turn it, because I'm bending on this surface here, closing up these gaps, allowing me to bend it to the contour of that flat stock. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill the camera and knock off the rest of these cuts, and we'll be back with it in a moment. So what do y'all think? You think my chop saw's done? Listen to this. Woo. Well, this thing has served me for many years, so I can't really complain. Darn it. And I was about done cutting this. Now that I've done smoked my chop saw, what am I going to cut metal with now? Of course, I got my plasma cutter. It does a great job. But this little wheel right here is a monster. I love this thing. It's called the Lennox Metal Max. It's for the 4.5 inch right here, but you can get them in various different sizes. And just put them on your right angle die grinder. And it makes great cuts. These things outlast the abrasive blades by a huge margin. It says 1,000+ cuts, and I'm not 1,000 cuts into it yet using this blade, but I don't cut thin metal. I mean, this is 11 gauge tubing here, and that's 3/16 plate, and so on and so on. But everything I cut around here is a minimum 1/8 inch. So yeah, those things are the monster. Just like any other abrasive blade, though, be sure. I don't have them on now because I just took them off. Having it's hard to run a camera with gloves. Make sure you got gloves for safety, stuff like that. I know here comes the safety police. You don't have a guard on it. Well, to do cuts like this, the guard covers up so much of the blade, it's kind of hard to get in there to do it. So just be careful, wear gloves, wear eye protection, hearing protection, all that fun stuff. Now, it makes a thinner cut or kerf as it's called. So the only downside to having a thinner curve like that, if you've got to make a hard bend in this, you'll have to make more relief cuts because you got less area to close up to form the curves. As you can see here, you know, these are pretty decently wide curves, but I had to finish up some of the cuts. Which side? Yeah, we can see right there a little bit. Here's a width here and there's a width there of using the Linux blade. It's a little bit, that's all bracelet blade side. It's a little bit thinner, but not by a whole lot, so it still works. Love that blade. Now what we need to do is take the flap wheel, clean up all this stuff right here, go along the edges through here, knock off all the mill scale, all this stuff that's going to impede having a good solid weld. Lay the 1-inch tubing up here, trace out, outline where the tubing comes through here. That'll tell me where I need to grind over here, and of course I need to grind the edge, so for when I go to do the welds, I get a good strong weld to it and not trying to weld through this mill scale and trash that's on the parts. I'll come through here, and as I form the arc, I'll be tacking it to the edge of the metal here, tacking the front side. Then once I go attack here, for instance, I'll come over here, put a tack on the opposite side of that to hold both sides. And that's what I'll do all the way down through here. Once I get the tubing tacked to the 3/16 real well, then I'll start put my welds into the relief cuts. Why am I going to do that? Because if you start throwing your welds through relief cuts first before tacking to the plate, this 1-inch square right here will start warping like crazy on you. So you need the 3/16 to keep this from losing its shape, because it will pull, heat will make it pull all kinds of weird directions. So tack it to the plate first, then you start working on your relief cuts. Take the clamps, clamp it down good tight, so therefore it flattens everything out together. And now what I'm going to do is fire up my MIG welder. I'm going to burn me a tack here, just on the other side of this bend. Don't, where this relief cut is, that's going to be a bend. So what I want to do is leave that alone and tack on this side of it and this side of it. Then I'll come back over here on this side and do the same thing, you know, just on this side and this side, and probably put a couple in the middle just to stabilize it. Then I can start forming the rest of it to shape that arc. Okay, let's get her tacked in place. Now you see they're just tacks. I mean, they're burning deep, but they're just short sections. And back here, and again, you see where the bend, the relief cuts are. That's where now that straight area is stable to the plate, and now I can start pushing or hammering or whatever I got to do this around to shape it to the curvature. Okay, as you can see right through here, it needs to be dropped down a little bit. But to be totally 100% honest with you, I took a hammer, smacked it a minute ago, and it fell right in place. I'm like, I didn't expect it to go that easy. And I said, I didn't get that on camera, so I bent it back up just to show you guys how I'm doing this. So, pretty easy, because right through here, it makes the bend that comes down. So to push it down a little bit, it's flush right there. So I'm going to turn my welder on real quick. So I push it down until this is level to an area on the edge of the plate here. So now it's pretty well flush right there. So I hold it down. Okay, that's good. Let's see what else we got. Ouch! Right there, I can do it. And now this is kind of going straight uphill because I took the hammer hooked onto it right here and poured it back up just so I can show you guys how to line this thing up. So now, because it's hot right here, hold this down, tap it. I'm not going to smack it too hard because there's nothing but this thickness of this wall left in the relief cuts. It makes it super easy to bend this. And all the way through there, it's pretty well flush. So I'm going to go ahead and put me a tack weld right here, a short tack, because I don't want to put too much heat on it because it's going to pull the back side up if I do that. But I need to stay put so I can flip it and get the other side. Now I'll take a little clamp I got over here that I'm using to hold it up, take that off. Stand this up like this, and what you want to look is where the back side of your metal is touching this to be sure it's not, the heat will sometimes make it pull upward, and it has not, but I've got the tacks here which should keep the tubing flat with the plate. See if I stand up, of course not. Oh, you kidding me? There. Now that should make it stay. Now on the back side through here, I can put the tacks in. And my ground clamp fell off. Now I've got those tacked in, they shouldn't go anywhere. Now I can start on that end and start shaping it for the rest of it. Now pushing down this end right here, I can get it flush right through here, but right through here seems to be a little bit high. So what do? I get a hammer. Push down a little bit. There, I thought you kind of drop right in place. Because now, yep, right through here, as flush as it can be, so I can go ahead and put some tacks to hold it in place. Now tacking this tubing to the plate, I put the clamp in right here because this side of this edge right here is off that plate just by a minuscule amount. Not really, probably even enough to make a difference. But since since I can, I've got minimal tack on the back side, I can still take the clamp and come through here to make sure it's flush with the plate, this edge. as I go. So I've got this piece right here squeezed down. I'm gonna put my tack there, and it looks like I'm good for this one and this one both. One thing about welding with flux core, burns the ladder. At work, I've got one that runs off of gas. It welds so smooth. Kind of spoils me. Let's see, I clamp it here, right there, weld there and there. I was inside doing the edit on this video and discovered that I need another section of video to explain something. I had a little voiceover thing going where I was talking into the microphone. I had this little arrow jumping around, but I still thought it didn't get the point across. So I'm going to come out here and make sure you guys get some quality information. I'm going to reshoot this part right here, or shoot the missing part, whatever. So here you see the little Sharpie markers here, which indicate your kerf cuts. When it's all come down, cut into the 1 inch. I'm not going to cut this particular piece up because this is actually one of the door braces for the passenger side. So as your kerf cuts coming up through here, and I was mentioning about doing your tiny little spot welds here, 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 little tack welds in between each one of the kerfs, and on the inside here between each one of the kerfs. Now what you want to do is once you run the whole length of it and you got everything bent and you've got the 1 inch tacked to your 3/16, yes I know that's only 1/8 inch, but hey, you get the point across. Once you get all that done, you've got that 1 inch pretty well locked in place. Then what you want to do is come back with your welder and start at one end and run you a short bead, probably from there to there, and here's your curve right here. Run your bead from the middle of this to the middle of this on one end. Then once you get on the inside here where the plate is, over this side where it laps over, run your bead from here to about right along in here to fill that right there in. Stop on this end. No more heat. No more heat on this end. Go to the other end of your part. Do the same thing. You run your little bead through here, from about here to here, where the kerf meets the metal, and do the same thing here. Run your little bead along here and right there. Alternate each end. Go here, 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 and keep alternating until you come in like that. What you really should do is once you get like here and here and here and here done, walk away, go get your drink, whatever, come back about 5 minutes, then run your next one from here to here, there to there, so on, so on. Because the more heat you keep trying to apply to this, the more chances of it warping. Now remember, this is the kerf cuts. This area right there here is still open. It's still cut open. Don't weld these up until you solidly got this 1 inch of this plate tied together with all your long tacks coming through here. Once you've got your long tacks tied in through here, then start your welds. Weld that one, run you from about here to here, come down here on the other end of the whole arc, weld here to here, weld that one in, let it cool, hit this one, then this one, this one, this one, work from your outside coming inward. You lessen your chances greatly from warping the part. So I hope that helps. The ground using 3/16 or 1/4 inch plate, the likelihood of you warping that 1 inch tubing is very not likely, honestly, because it's not going to flex as much as say that piece of 1/8 inch I was demonstrating, that 1/8 inch, and you weld that 1 inch tubing, it'll warp that 1/8 inch. But using 3/16 or 1/4 inch, the likelihood of you warping that steel plate that thick, not likely. But still, bounce your heat around to help prevent it as much as possible. Trust me, I screwed up a couple parts where I finally said, duh, I know this stuff, and I just wasn't thinking, I was in a hurry. It is what it is. Did you enjoy that video? Did you learn a little something from it? If you did, hit me with that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and leave me some comments down below. Now let's talk about something for a second. Let's talk about bending that 1-inch tubing. You see where I made the cuts like this right here to give me an ability to make that curvature and stuff in the 1-inch tubing. Whenever you cut that and you bend it, shape it, the first thing you think, you says, okay, you want to tack weld this here, tack weld this thing as you go around through that, which holds the contour in place. I did that, and I wasn't really thinking about the whole mechanics of the way metal works. Whenever you heat metal, it shrinks. So if you got that contour going like right here and you weld one of those seams, that weld is going to make that shrink, that one spot. Okay, let's multiply that by all those slots coming out through there. The metal, if you got a slight contour, next thing you know, after all that heat, you got like right here, because all the heat will cause that 1-inch just to bow up from contracting on that side of the metal. So that's part of the reason for the 3/16 plate being on top of it, because the 3/16 held that 1-inch curvature in place and didn't allow it to expand, shorten, or whatever, whatever direction you wanted to pull in. The 3/16 held it in place, but not only that, it provided more strength. So whenever I bang this thing against a rock or a tree or something like that, the combination of the 11 gauge wall of the 1-inch tubing and the 3/16 plate being on top of that and being part of the structure, it helps the fender overall be stronger. So just bear in mind, if you guys want to start chopping 1-inch tubing or whatever size tubing you want to do, be it round, square, whatever, you make those slots so you can make a contour. Each one of those welds is going to make that metal pull, and you'll go from a flat piece of metal to it'll bend the crap out of it. Heat makes metal shrink, so remember that when you're doing a whole bunch of multiple welds in one stretch, because I promise you, hey, ask somebody who knows. I've done it before, and I was so daggone ill after that metal was jumped because it curved so hard on me after all that heat. It was junk piece. Matter of fact, let me show you guys something. See that 1-inch piece right here? That's just a arc, which I need to finish welding in because it's kind of just tacked in at the moment. But that arc right there was originally this piece up here. But because I come through here and I had all those slots cut in here, I welded seam all the way through here and didn't put that 3/16 plate. That thing right there, which should have been a lot less curved than this here, but it pulled that arc into it. I didn't want to trash it, but I need the braces coming through here, so I thought, hey, you know what the heck, it makes a good brace. So my mistakes became an asset for me to have those kind of a curvature of a brace right here. So just remember, whenever you're welding metal, especially if you're running your wire hot or your stick welder, whatever you're going, the hotter you run your welder, the more likely it's going to pull. But there she is. Of course, I got my welding car sitting all in the way. She's coming around. Ask you guys a question. Notice right through here, that's still raw metal. Being Project Rust Bucket and being that she was a piece of junk to begin with, I kind of want to stay true to her name. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I need to weld all that in. This is my rock slider, my rock rails being welded to the internal framework of the tub itself. Let's show you guys something over here. Had to let the cars go by. All right, you see I've got my cab corner. That's welded in. Kind of give you an idea how long the tub's going to be. Because that's where she's going to end at, right there. Of course, as you guys know, a YJ, this cab corner right here used to be back here. Well, about 11 here, because I've already stretched the frame 11 inches. Or suspension and everything. But I think about doing an industrial style vibe to this thing. I was just playing, welded that seam in right there. And I intentionally, so I have spot welds here, spot weld there on each side of that, plus 1-inch tubing down through here. Well, spot welds on each side of this right through here, that run my seam. So I thought, I'm gonna play connected dots. So I went doop, come on down through there, playing connected dots, spot weld to spot weld, making it look like a scar tissue coming down through there. I intentionally made the weld look like crap, kind of like a Frankenstein weld, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the theme I'm going after. She was always been Project Rust Bucket. She was a basket case when I got her, and she's a toy, so I don't see the point in putting a whole bunch of money into body work, a whole bunch of time into body work, when I'm just going to beat the snot out of her anyway. You know what I'm saying? Build her for battle, not for show. So just for the fun of it, I welded those scar tissues in, and I think I'm going to do that to every little patch I put in this thing. Make like a makeshift scar tissue, because I got a chunk I got to put in right here. So right through there, be scar tissue coming down like this, scar tissue coming like that. I got to weld all that back in. So I don't know. Tell me, guys, what you think. But going with that old school rat rod industrial vibe, I've got some really cool ideas for the dash that's going to be really wicked. Let me know.